Welcome to Talk Design Podcast, the space where creativity meets conversation. I'm Adrian Ramsey, your host, and as someone deeply entrenched in the world of design, I'm thrilled to introduce you to the minds that inspire me in the hope that they will spark something special within you too. From a design past crafting women's swimwear to pushing the boundaries of performance sportswear, from mountaineering to international yachting, to implementing systematic innovation solutions that transcend boundaries in aerospace industry, my heart remains rooted in architecture and exploring the emotional tapestry woven by built spaces is my fascination. My journey in design has been what can only be described as a life of design. I want to thank you for lending me your ears. I'm eager to embark on this next episode together. And for those of you who prefer to watch and listen, you can catch this episode at YouTube. That's youtube.com/@TalkDesignPodcast. My guest on Talk Design today is Andrea Knowles. Now, Andrea Knowles is a specialist world-class designer of equine residences. Now, I'd never heard that term equine residences before. However, once I did, I started digging and I loved the niche. I love what she does. So I reached out to her and said, would you come on the podcast so that you could share everything with all of my peoples? She's an equestrian facilities designer. So she goes way beyond just equine residences, but equine residences will be a lot that we talk about today. An incredible woman, a horse rider herself, of course, loves horses. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Adrian. It's lovely to be a part of this. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. As I said, I love the fact that you have this beautiful niche and that it is around something you're so passionate about. And obviously the clients that you have are so passionate about this one.
Yeah, it's definitely quite specialized, but I started off as a residential designer and pivoted to this. So there was a natural flow as an equestrian and a designer to put the two together.
It's one of those pieces, like I'm going to go digging backwards into your history, but there, as you said, there's a pivot moment in there, and I want to come back to why you pivoted and when. But let's get back to you were a kid, you had a horse, obviously. You're in Los Angeles. Does everybody in Los Angeles have a horse? Is there somewhere to stable a horse?
People have horses here.
Exactly. So tell me the story of growing up, horses, and how they influenced your life then, and now the story from there.
So according to my parents, I pretty much wanted a horse when I could talk and told them horse, and they were a little confused. They are not horse people. Neither of them likes horses particularly. Certainly don't know anything about horses. And but fortunately, one of my mom's best friends is an equestrian herself. And so she kind of guided the process and helped us choose a pony. And, she taught me how to ride. I was 7 and then moved into a show stable pretty quickly and, started this show circuit on ponies and then into horses and all of that. And I rode all the way through college. So, yeah.
When you say the show circuit, what is the show circuit?
So I was a hunter jumper. So I started off as a, little girl with braids and bows and, on my jumping my pony. And then I, moved on up to the jumper world with bigger horses, bigger jumps, showing all over the West. I was on the West Coast. I'm from California.
Yeah, right. It's interesting, like I would say, like when the Olympics is on, the equestrian part is one of the parts of the Olympics I love to watch. And I'm not, a stupid, crazy horse person. I love them. I think they're the most incredible looking animals. I love watching quarter horses and barrel racing and things like that. I'd love to try that snow skiing where you get pulled by the horse around the track. I can imagine breaking a few legs and bones doing that, but I'd love to give it a go. But I love watching the equestrian. I think because it's such a feat. It's there's something really special about it.
Yeah, and also it's a really cool sport because it's the only sport where men and women compete against each other equally. And consistently, the oldest competitors are always equestrian. because there's kind of no age limit. Like, you don't really retire. If you can ride your horse into your 70s and compete, you're doing it. And you can be an Olympian on it, and you're a top in the world. You are a top in the world and competing against the best. It's a really cool sport that way.
So you never grow old in the sport, essentially. You only get better.
Yeah, right, for sure.
I remember when I first started, so I'm a surfer, and it wasn't when I first started surfing, but when I came to live in Australia from New Zealand, I came to this town where I live now, and there was a surf club, a Malibu longboard surf club, and I thought I would join it. Because I don't really know anybody here. I can surf, but I'm not great. And anyway, so I joined it, and nobody spoke to me for 2 years, like maybe one or two people. It was really weird. But I just kept going to their meetings anyway, and there'd be like 20 people in a meeting kind of thing, and nobody would really talk to me. I was a real outsider. And but I kept turning up. Eventually some people spoke to me. But the thing that I realized was, if you compete in the age category, because it's longboarding, the guys in their 60s, 50s, and 60s can wipe the floor with just about anybody in their 20s. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is really interesting. You want to be, they've got so much wave experience, so much, I suppose, time in the water. And yeah, it's incredible. And so I didn't realize equestrian was that thing where it was equal men, women, and in the sense of, not sexually divided. It's fascinating that. And so with a sport like that, why didn't it develop as a man-only sport or a woman-only sport? Like most of them did at some point,
I think that it was quite social, in fact. So first of all, I'm going to take it from the beginning. I think riding a horse was a necessity for thousands of years. So you had to know whether you were a man or a woman, you had to know how to ride a horse, and sometimes at long distances. So the horse, I don't think has ever been pigeonholed in that way. And somehow, like equestrian competition just never divided out that way. They've always kept it democratic, and it's not sexual. It's not, if you're good, you win. If you're not, you don't. If you're fast, you win. If you're not, you don't. It's very,
Yeah. It's I think of, bronc riding and stuff. And I do have a friend here. She's an interior designer. She'll absolutely love this episode. And I know she's ridden bulls and broncs, and she's, like a leggy blonde that you go, really? She's ballsy, man. She's ballsy. She's, she'd be what you call a broad, like in the American term, she's a real broad. She's fabulous. And with it, I know she's worked in all over America with horses, training and all the rest. And, she'll barrel race, she'll do all those things as well. And I never really considered that it doesn't really matter which sex you are. You can be in the same arena at the same time. It's not a man's or woman's. What a fabulous sport. That'd make my daughters love it even more. We used to have this thing when I was a kid, all the girls at school wanted horses. And when I've got two daughters, and they would have, if I'd said, look, we can put a pony in the backyard, they would have been all over it in a heartbeat. And my eldest daughter her name's Paris, after the city. And we used to take her to riding lessons. We lived in France for a while. And we used to take her to riding lessons in France. And she still goes riding occasionally, those kinds of things. But just amazing how this horses tend to draw people in. They're magnetic animals.
They are. Yeah. It's, I think it becomes I don't like using the word addiction because it has a negative connotation, but it's
compelling.
Something akin to that, once they're in your heart, and that's so it's over. Yeah. And it seems to be kind of like genetic also. A lot of people who are, in the horse world, their kids are too, and their grandkids, and then and on it goes. It's very it's quite normal to see longevity and
right. It drops down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got friends here who are like that as well. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's horses in the family and it's kind of like, boom, they just keep going. I love it.
Yeah. I just learned that I never knew this in my whole life. And a year or so, not even ago, my dad found a picture of his grandfather on a horse. And his grandfather was actually a mounted policeman in Miami, like, almost 100 years ago, or almost 100 years ago. And he sent me the picture and I was like, well, there it is, Dad. Like,
In the blood.
A horse person. Like, my dad was like, yeah, actually now, like, I remember the stories, like, you had to take care of your own horse as a policeman then. And, it was your responsibility, and, like having a dog when you're, in the canine division. So yeah. So it made a lot of sense. I love that picture. It's amazing.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And that's the legacy line, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. That was my great grandfather. So now I know somebody in my family was also a horse person.
Yeah, it was. You just skipped a generation with your parents.
So yeah. And I also learned later in life that my mom is scared of horses. She did okay. Like, she was around at the stables and shows and all of that. But she never wanted to ride any.
Yeah, right. Horse. So you got as a kid then, you got this opportunity and obviously did well with it, with the opportunity to ride, to be in eventing and do all the shows and things. And then did you just continue to keep a horse or horses? Or was there, what happened? What happened from there? Because at some point you went and did design, and then from design, the rest follows out, but still horses.
Yeah. So I went to high school. I'm from Los Angeles. I went to high school on the East Coast for quite some time, half the time. And then I still had horses. And then I went to university in Europe. So that's when I stopped having horses. It didn't make sense anymore. We retired my horses. They sold a few. And my first boyfriend, my only boyfriend for all of school, was a polo player. So I rode all the time because he had horses.
The attraction was the boy, but not the horses, right?
Yeah, which is a coincidence. But also, I think there's no such thing as, an accident like that. I think horse people find each other anyway. And so, like a first semester in, I called my mom and said, hey, I'm hanging out at the barn all the time. I'm desperate. I miss having a dog. I can't stand it. And so she said, wait a minute, and wait to make sure you're going back to school there. And I was like, okay, because not everywhere is going to be cool with you having a dog. And I waited, and the first week of school, when I got back for my second year of university there, I asked one of the girls at the barn where they got their dog. Their breeder, horse breeder / dog breeder, got me one out of Jack Russell from Scotland. I'm a Jack Russell person, and sent the dog to me from Scotland. And I had that dog for 15 years. He was my baby. And string of Jack Russells since, and I still have them. So and Jack Russells and horses go paw and hoof. So it's part of the same.
Horses are real flight animals. Like they're flight animals. How do they go with Jack Russells? Because Jack Russells are quick and they're around their feet. Yeah.
I think horses are. I think Jack Russells are actually so smart that they're generally aware to stay out of the way of the horse's hooves. Yeah. They've, yes, lots of stories of dogs getting kicked in the barn, but, also I think the dog notices the size of the animal. I don't know, I've seen Jack Russells chase an elephant or chase they're so fearless, but I think standing under that horse with the big, flat, hard foot, somehow they know. I have heard rare stories of Jack Russell stable death. And a lot of them just, like, most of the time when I'm at a stable, there's a pack of dogs. No one's on leash, and they're running around, and they're in and out of the stalls, and they're eating stuff they shouldn't. Whatever, nobody cares.
Oh shit!
You carry your Jack Russell around when you're riding, and they're fine. I've never had a problem. My 2 Jack Russells now have never been to the stable. So it's a thing that I've not taken them. but I think I'm like more responsible and older now. So the thought of that is terrifying to me if something bad happened to one of my dogs.
Yeah.
They're my
Jack Russells are such a wonderful dog, as you say, highly, highly intelligent, really friendly, but then an absolute warrior. Like they'll run to the front to take something down, no matter what its size is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm a fan. I used to have an Airedale Terrier, and they're a little bit the same, a lot lazier than the Jack Russell, but the same kind of mentality. That, yeah.
I have a lazy Jack Russell right now. She's the only lazy Jack Russell I've ever had. We call her the house cat.
The house cat.
Like she'll like lay down on a walk, and we're like, no, McCain, we're going. No. Like she gets carried a lot. She's also the most like. I don't want to say anything bad about my dog. She's very manipulative. So like, and she manipulates my husband really well, and not as much me. Like I'm definitely the like.
You're the hard ass when it comes to you're walking, not carried.
Move it along. You're a dog. Like we're here to walk you, not me.
Yeah, exactly.
And my other one, she's 5 years older, but she's a Spitfire. She's tiny. She weighs 9, called a puddin'. It's like a rare occurrence in Jack Russells. And actually one of my best friends in the horse world has one too, where they just don't grow past 6-month mark. And so she's this big, fully grown, like nothing weird about her, not a dwarf. Cause I called the breeder and I was like, is my dog a dwarf? What's going on here? And, oh my gosh. And she got growing. Nope. Perfect. She's beautiful. She's actually one of the most beautiful Jack Russells I've ever seen. And nope, she just didn't grow. So I'm hoping that means that she lives 3 times as long.
It might do as well, eh? Like her organs and stuff are probably about the normal size, but her actual body weight and things that she's carrying.
And healthy. So, like the healthiest dog I've ever had also. She's just and she's a warrior. That girl can catch anything. We call her the Great White Hunter. And like, if you cross her path, she will catch you.
She'll take you.
Yeah. Most especially, she loves to get lizards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it is not a safe zone in our garden for lizards. She'll get them.
That is something with Jack Russells. They're so quick. They're so, and they weren't they ratters? Weren't they? Yeah, they were
rats too. Fortunately, we don't have too many rats where I live because we have other bigger apex predators here, so they get the rats. But yeah, if one comes down here, as a designer, this one drives me crazy. Every once in a while, we'll get rats in our outdoor furnishing, like furniture, and they'll wreck them. And I'm so grateful to my dog because she'll like root that out.
There. Yeah.
We'll go right in. We know like the minute her nose dives into a cushion, there's a rat there. She's gonna get it and like get ready. So, and we don't love anyone getting killed. So we try to
get rid of them as opposed to.
Yeah, we try to trap them and carry them out. So
just take the end fun bit away from her, the actual hunt and the kill. But the hunt's good. The hunt's good.
Yeah. She's something.
That's so cool. And I didn't, understand that relationship because, with horses being flight animals, I always am very aware when I'm around horses, that they will jump from a wrist. They will, there's all the horse rules as such. There's the common sense rules that keep you safe around a horse. And I'm always nervous when I'm around a horse and there's a dog. In case the dog makes the horse jump, I'm like, shit. I'm jumpier than the horse. I'm the flight animal when I'm around a horse and a dog at the same time. That's classic. So with you started, you went to university, you did all that. Polo, did you play polo?
No, I didn't. I mean, I stick and ball, but no, and I'm not good at it. And like, it makes me really nervous. It's too quick. I love watching polo. It's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world to do. And I have so much respect for polo players and polo horses and what those folk do. And those animals are athletes. But I didn't get bit by the bug. I liked watching. I liked hanging out. But yeah, I mean, I'll ride a polo horse, no problem. Sure. But also like the whole reins in one hand and because you've got to have your mallet in one hand and your reins in the other, and that felt off balance, and I don't know. So it was like, all right, this isn't my sport, but it's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing to be a part of, no matter what part of it you're in.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's such an amazing sport. The amount of speed, it's kind of like, it reminds me of basketball. You're not meant to run into anybody, but you run into everybody. Yeah, there's a lot of shielding. There's a lot of like aggressive play, but clean play. Like it's game on. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, but basketball on a horse.
It is, eh? Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. It's so fun. So then you studied, and then you came back to America. And did you start with interior design? Tell me the journey that took you from that to
art business. So
what business, sorry?
The art business. So I have a degree in history of art, and I went straight into the art business. I was in the auction world for a while at Christie's and Sotheby's, and then I went to an art consultancy that's based in New York and LA, where I was for several years. And I loved it. It's a great business. It's interesting and challenging, and such cool people, and the collectors and the artists, and everyone in between. Obviously it's a really magical world to be in. So I was in that for a while, and then I don't know, the interiors bug had always kind of been in me a bit, and I was the kid that helped their mother, choose fabrics, and I was kind of bossy around the designers and all of that when they were in the house. And I just, I loved it. So it just kept coming back. And a lot of people would ask me to give them advice on their, interiors in their houses. They'd like mine. And, so it just kind of was born naturally that way. And I ended up doing someone's house kind of on the fly. Yep. Out of nowhere, I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done. I'm doing this. I figured it encompassed everything. I could, do the interiors, do the art consultancy work, put it all in one place. So that was how that started. And it's almost 20 years ago. So long time.
And you managed to move a few horse pictures, and you suddenly decide that horses and this all comes together.
Yeah, the horse thing kind of toward the end of COVID, not the end, maybe during COVID, during our lockdown here, a book kind of caught my eye somewhere, and I was like, what is that? And I ordered it, and I was like, well, hold on a minute. I haven't been in the horse world as a competitor or an owner and all of that in quite some time, but how is it that in all this time, no one's improved to me the design of a horse stable? It felt insane to me, with all of the things that have changed in how we design a house, how we architect a house, how we build a house, and I was like, and it's for all the same people. How is this not improved? So I kind of did homework, and I like doing homework. I'm an art history major, so I like research. And so I research everything. And I was like, how interesting. Well, there's some people out there that are talented, in the equestrian architecture marketplace, but there's room for me. And also, there isn't another me, so to speak. So there are a couple of architects, certainly here in North America, quite a few people seem to be trying to create a marketplace in Brazil.
Or Argentina, I imagine, would be another one.
And so it was just born that way. And then I just kind of figured out that my, personal and business contacts were good, and so were my equestrian. We were talking earlier that you never age out of the equestrian world. So I still knew a ton of people, so that made it easier too. And also, I'm not shy in that way. So
you're happy to make the call. You're happy to make the connection.
I felt comfortable, and so it started it kind of in the I told a friend, I was like, and I don't understand anyone who has this, dedicated Instagram following like this, and so stupid and crazy. And it happened for me really quickly, where all of a sudden, a few posts in, the Instagram started to take off. And I was like, all right, I'm onto something. So let's pursue this. And my first design was for myself. And so I had my office render a design. Sorry, I apologize. The dogs are barking.
It's all good. Bring him in.
That took off really well too. So when I saw that what I was thinking in my head was what people were going to respond to best, I knew that I should just follow the road, and it worked. I've got projects all over the world now. So
yeah, that's the part that fascinates me is like, so go back to the design side of it. You're right. It's like it's an undeveloped design genre. I used to work in innovation, at very high end of innovation with clients like Airbus and people like that. So with it, you're always looking at what hasn't been redeveloped. So what hasn't been innovated. And, like I would say, simple things like a toaster hasn't been really re-innovated in years and years and years and years. It still cooks toast. It maybe does brown. It maybe does white. Maybe does crumpets, waffles, whatever. But it hasn't really been innovated. And you take something like a building, like you're saying, like, so everybody who owns horses has somewhere that they stable them. And then they have some exercising of their horses, whether that be a racehorse, a quarter horse, equestrian horse. Even if they just ride trails, they do something. And you've got this space that I imagine hadn't had a lot done to it in maybe a few thousand years.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing to think that it's sitting there and somebody hasn't had a big shot at it. I have a friend in the UK who he's on the podcast. His name's Stephen Melvin, and he designed a indoor arena, but with a lot of glass in it. And he was saying that to me, and I'm pretty sure he says it on the podcast, that having glass in there with reflective surfaces and stuff isn't very horsey. Horses get, they flight from those kinds of things. And so to design something that would work that way was another challenge that, so you could see out from it and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then, of course, that turned me on to the fact that I'd look now. Everywhere I'd look, I'd go, oh, yeah, right. So reflective surfaces, we don't want a lot of them. What is it that it is? And then why is that? What does that do for the horse? And so I want to ask you, the horses that have come from, old-fashioned stables and have got to move into their equine residence, does it make them a better horse, or does it make them a calmer horse? How do you take all that knowledge that you had that has been built over years and years and years and years of this is why it works best in a space, and then elevate that through to this is what it does for the horse and the horse owner and the environment? I think of when we draw a house, we have to work out if there's a car coming into a garage and it's going to turn on the property, how tight my turning circle has to be, what size car it is, all the rest. Horses come in shapes and sizes. Horses come in different personalities, and they need turning space. They need these things. And so there must be rules as such. It's got to be X wide, or it's got to be about this. If you've got 3 horses, it's more than that. Whatever. Take me away.
So, yes, there are, pretty prescribed, dimensionality that is required in a horse stable. A horse has to, right, as you said, turn around in certain spaces. They need, if they're in stalls, they need certain amount of space in the stall because they lay down. They have to be able to get up without hurting themselves. They're also very prone to doing that. So prone to injury is really common. Like, I don't know whoever said healthy as a horse because they've never met one. But also, there are things that are constantly, improvable. So for me, one of the first things that I got really into was airflow. So airflow to me is so key in a horse stable that it's 1000% for the health of the horses. And also it's not particularly healthy for anybody to be in an overly ammonia saturated environment. And horse pee is very high concentrate ammonia. So I got pretty interested in kind of like six level foundation drainage systems and was researching kind of how I could, elder on that and, make that a reality. And I listened to some podcasts and, engaged with some university professors and their studies. I'm really into university studies. I spend a lot of time on that because what I do is quite technical, and we do have dedicated architects in our office for what we do. I don't outsource that per se, and we are an architecture firm in that sense. I am not an architect, but I am the person that conceives of the drawing. So like they just make what I'm drawing 100% work, just kind of. So like health and wellness in a horse stable is for sure something that most horse owners really, really are like attuned with now. So even if the stable itself hasn't quite got up to speed, the horse, especially the high level competitive, horse worlds, everybody's very into, spa equipment and, water treadmills, and now salt saunas are a very big thing.
I'm going to dig into this piece, so we're going to come back to this. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll wait. And so that's a big thing for what we also are doing. And also, one of the things I've been really interested in is having a medical space, a veterinary space on site, because it makes a lot of sense to be able to treat acutely instead of,
in the stable.
Yeah, have an emergency and have to haul out for everything. I mean, obviously surgically is bad, but like if you can treat, X and have, equipment and all of those things readily available, if you're spending the kind of money that most people in that world are on their horses, then we should be providing those horses with a safer place for the veterinarian to come and treat them in the back of a truck or, the back of a tack up turnaround space in the stable. We also think like, where the farrier comes to shoe the horses to make sure the ventilation is different there. And also that tends to be kind of alarming to other horses in the stable when their friend is out of the stall having their feet done. It can be nerve wracking if you're putting them right in the middle of the barn aisle for the other horses. So like all of those kinds of things come into consideration to me.
Yes.
And the way that I, plan a floor plan for a horse stable is kind of, I think, become a little different than how most other people would do it. And I think it's resonating well with, certainly my clientele. And, we're also, one of the other things that's really fundamental in my designs is it's the space for the people. So people that have horses tend to want to be around them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They'll really significant social group within your stable friends. And also you tend to be into conversations with the veterinarians, the farriers, the trainers, the other owners, the riders, all the visitors, all of that stuff happens in the barn. And so you're kind of like, there are a lot of jokes about, like I told my husband, I'm going to the barn for an hour and that was 8 hours ago, it's not on purpose it's what you kind of get into. It's your life, even if you're a hobby rider, you're really happiest at the stable. So to me, to have a really great area to sit down and potentially do some of that socialization is also good. And I think it's really good for the breeder, sales, owner kind of world. You could make a better deal in a comfortable environment than you can, kind of standing in
leaning on a post. Yeah.
And also, privacy in that regard. I'm quite into that for my clients. Like, I personally don't want to talk to my banker in front of people I don't know. So it's kind of and I've told a story before on other podcasts that as a kid, we changed, like I stayed with my trainer. We changed locations or where our stables were located. And the parents were ecstatic because they had a place to hang out. Because as I said, my mom is not a horse person. And so previously she'd spent a lot of time just sitting in her car. Like a lot of them parents weren't socializing as much either. So this provided them with a great place to sit, have a coffee, have a glass of wine, whatever that was, whatever time of day that was, And then in addition, it gave the trainers somewhere better to break the news that they needed to spend more money. And I like getting hit up for quite a lot of money in that place, as opposed to being asked to roll down the window of her car and be like, hey, ma'am,
You got another 100,000.
I need another 100,000. Like, I saw a horse for your daughter this weekend. Oh, okay. I got to talk, this was like relaxed and happy and cheerful and friendly, and it worked. And I believe to this day that that's a way better place. Like, when I have people come to my home, they don't walk in the door and I don't go sit them on the toilet to ask how their day was.
Yeah.
We sit in my, my garden or my living room or,
around the kitchen bench or whatever it is. Yeah.
So having a place to have human socialization is also really, I think, important. And I'm seeing a lot more of that now. And I think it's really good. It's a great, change.
Does it affect horse behavior when you have that as well? Do they become, calmer, or do they become, more familiar?
For the people to be sitting in a lounge?
Well, for the people to be around the stable space. And, I often think of a stable space as being, and I could be completely wrong, I don't have a horse, I don't have a stable, but it's a functional work zone. You come in, you muck out, you brush horses, you shoe them, you take them in and out, you do those things. It's not, whilst it's a social space, it's like a social space between you and your horse, but the other horses might get a pat on the nose or a hello or whatever, but it's kind of in and out with horses. And whether that, because horses have all got like massive personalities. They can be absolute shits. They'll knock you off on a tree. They'll rub you off if they think you're a pain in the ass. They've got that personality as well as they've got that really loving personality. And you certainly see the bond between human and horse, that trust bond that has to grow. I think back to that movie all those years ago, The Horse Whisperer, and that trust, that built up trust, and that, not breaking a horse, but bringing a horse on a journey with you, and you going on the horse's journey along the same way, building the trust. And human interaction where there's people that are relaxed and joyful and doing their thing and in a beautiful environment, whether that actually shifts the horse's emotional state.
I'm going to go with probably, yeah. I mean, it's
so.
But then I think the animals always feel the energy,
Yeah.
If you have G, they feel it. And if you're angry, they know. And if you're happy, they're aware, like they respond to all of those things. And I think if you're, in a better place to have those, human interactions, that maybe, I like the way that you thought of that. Yeah. Like, why not? Especially if you're going to have like a negotiation or it's a negative conversation or whatever it is, to have it privately is, I think
makes a big difference. And that the point you were making about shoeing a horse in the middle or shoeing a horse in another space, where the other horses are like, they've been through it. They're not stupid. They, you know what I mean? It's like, it's part of.
Not me next.
Yeah.
Although there is a farrier that I've seen on social media who has millions of followers. He's really good looking. But horses, like, he has like a love affair with all the horses. They love him. Right. So like, it's like, oh, like they don't care that he's doing their feet. They just want to like smell him and talk to him and nuzzle him. It's really cute. I have to remember, I'll send it to you. I can't remember what his name is.
That's incredible. So isn't that just amazing though? Like he's there doing a job as such, but he's making this super deep connection with those horses. And somewhere in there, his horse pheromones or whatever it is, settle the horse. And the horse goes, this guy's here for me. This, like, that's fascinating because, ultimately that's what the bond that each rider is trying to create with their horse is this one where you become, a single identity. Yeah. The other piece that when you were saying about that was the airflow piece. And, as you were saying it, I'm going, oh, yeah, I've never thought about it. It's like, oh, hello. Like nobody thought about elevating this, equine residence thing. Is the piece that really stood out to me was the airflow. And when I look at our house and when I'm designing a home for somebody, I go, especially where we live, and you're in California, so different climates, different things, but we're looking always for natural airflow if we can create it. And the other thing that we're really focused on is the amount of noise there is in the environment. Like acoustically, what's an environment like? Because acoustics is a noise pollution that we kind of just get stuck with. You know, I'm no massive fan of electric cars. However, on the front of electric cars, I go, they're going to reduce the amount of road noise significantly. Yeah. So,
I designed an indoor arena, and I'm really into like biophilic installations. And so
cool. This is where I was going to go here next. Yes.
So I reached out to this company that's based here in the US that works with designers and artists. They're a biophilic company and called the Fat Plant Society.
The Fat Plant Society.
Yeah. And she's American and her husband is Danish, and they're brilliant. And I called her and I was like, okay, I have this idea of putting moss panels on the inside of an indoor horse riding arena. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I said, well, hold on. I was like, if I do that, will it reduce noise? Because it's such a large space. I mean, it has a sand floor, obviously, right? But you're still going to get that huge echo in that.
Yep.
And she was like, absolutely. Yeah. The way that the sound will bounce off that moss, it is a solution. And I was like, cool. What else will it do? I said, it cleans the air, right? And I said, I don't ever have to water that moss installation. Once it's up, that's it. You never touch it again. It may need some repairs over the years. It's permanent, basically. It's we can't create anything better than Mother Nature. So I had a lot of questions about that. And some people, my office actually didn't love the way that it looked. And I was like, I don't care.
We've got to make it look good then.
You don't like the way it looks. I do. I think it's beautiful to have that green ceiling.
Yeah.
With the skylights and all of that, and we put as much natural light as we also can into our projects. That's a big thing for me, is natural light, yeah. And especially we're stable as much as possible.
I want to stop on that one, because natural light in a horse stable, my experience of horse stables are that they're dark as hell. Like that, the minute you start making me think about it, I'm going, all my experience is going into these dark stables. There's no windows necessarily. There's big doors at the end. There's flow through of air from one direction. There's bullshit and pee everywhere. And that's why you have, juniors mucking it out. And then when you started saying about, well, the foundation of that, how do we clean the stable? How do we get that urine out of the stable? How do we have it so it's flushed through as well, so that it's not just this ammonia gas, which you and I wouldn't want to live in, let alone a horse want to live in?
I'll tell you, to most horse people, it smells delicious. But a horse, I'm not saying the urine smells good, but the horse itself, it's if I could figure out how to bottle that, it would be great.
Do you know what? You say that. I was in Barcelona a couple of years ago, and I went to a perfumery. And in the perfumery, they had a locked door. And he would let you in, you'd stand at the door, and he would never have more than 2 customers in the store at a time. So my wife and I go in. And then we were the only ones in at that moment. And he's like, we're like, oh, do we just smell things? What do we do? And he was like, yeah. Have a look around, and he started telling us a little bit about things. And he said, what kind of scent do you wear now? And I'm like, oh, well, I wear this one. And Becky's like, oh, yeah, I wear this one, maybe a couple of different ones there and stuff. And he's like, right, just really mainstream, bought it duty free on the way through kind of thing. And he's like, okay. And he goes, well, if you like those kind of notes, those ones are like these kind of things, but this here is a little more sophisticated. It starts showing us through things. And then I'm like, my curious mind's going, okay, so there's way more shit than what he's showing us. He's showing us this little section. What's all this other stuff? And I said, so take me somewhere where I'd never expect to go. And he goes, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, take me, show me some things. Give me some sense that I would never expect. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, this one here is like diesel oil and sweat. This is like, but it's got a fragrant note to it, but it's got like almost in a really abstract way, you could suddenly smell that you were like in a mechanic's workshop.
Yeah, that sounds
smell that thing. And then he did this.
Wow, my dad is a car collector, so like that's a thing that would smell really good to me.
It would be an anchor. Yeah. And so when you start thinking like this, you should probably go to Grasse in France, down in Nice, and work with a perfumery that will create that stable smell. And I wonder if Hermes, being, the big brand that they are, whether they've ever attacked it that way. But it's very real. And scent is such a trigger point for people. And that slightly acidic, how scent shifts when it's on your body. But there is those ones that have got that sort of astringent, slightly acidic starts to them. Yeah. And then they obviously soften, or your nose gets more used to them. But it got me thinking when I was in this perfumery, and I bought some perfume and stuff. I've actually got his card here. It's somewhere on my wall beside me, like right here, because I said to him I would, I'm going to share his details with you. I'm going to podcast with him at some point, and I haven't done it yet. But he was like really fascinating kind of thing there, because those anchor points of scent. And, like if you're in, say, California versus if you're in, say, Australia, the bush smells different. Yeah. It's different that the earth, the terrace smells different. France, it smells different. And getting that kind of like anchoring, like, I go, it anchors in your nasal things, it's like this all came from a guy who shoes horses. But I think there's something really in that. And people love that. Like you said, they love that smell because it's anchored to all the good things.
Well, I think that most of the, let's call it you said Hermes, or, is it Ralph Lauren and his, connection as well into the equestrian world, and, all of the kind of big designer brands that are horse interested. Hermes is definitely, I would say, the most, let's call it genuine. They started as a saddlery. So like their origin is horse. But I find that a lot of things have this imitation leather smell. And to me, that's not what a horse stable smells like. If you stick your face into a horse saddle, it'll smell like leather. But the whole barn doesn't smell like leather. It smells like horse. It smells like horse pee and poo and like, sawdust.
Straw, sawdust. Yeah.
And alfalfa, the dried alfalfa that they're fed, and, bran mash and, oats and what they're eating. That's and also the stuff that you put on them, right? So it smells like then you've got the notes of shampoo and, linen, hoof oil. Like that's what a horse stable smells like. It does not smell like a delicious, freshly made saddle.
Yeah, exactly. Like a beautiful piece of freshly made leather.
Right. Yeah. That's not what I don't think, like, and I don't think my nose is too off. I'm a smell person. So and dirt, like there's a lot of dirt in the horse stable. Wet, dry dirt, dog, like, that's what's in this. And think about what it must have smelled like. Actually, I'm going to say horse stables probably have smelled the same always. Like, no matter what's going on, it's the same thing in the stable. And like, and the guys that took care of the horses were actually rather the elevated people that were trusted to take care of such an important being,
it's like an aircraft mechanic.
Yeah. They're the
like that guy to know what he's doing.
So they had to know what they were doing and care and be good at it and be at the the guys running the stable, the masters of the horse, and knowing how to trade horse flesh. And yeah, horse stables are, well, I've disrupted the horse stable. So here we are, even though I love the traditionalities of, and, traditions of the horse stables.
I think like the disruption is fabulous. I think what you're doing is you're making it more available for an environment that people can get to enjoy, and you're elevating that environment. Your horse health piece will be massive as well. I want to talk about horse wellness and in that, like the spa, I think you said salt sauna. I want to ask about that. And then also about, you started with biophilic design, and then I want to go with what we call building biology, and you started in with this with the moss, and I'm going, so that's biophilic, but building biology would tell us also that if we use certain materials, it will absorb more sound, it will absorb more moisture, it will bring that moisture back into the air, it will breathe with it. And how do you make these environments, whether they're for eventing or whether they're for stabling, how do you get these environments up in the building science and building biology state? Because you've got these incredibly expensive animals that are delicate, that are in there, and you're paying a lot of money for them, paying a lot of money to look after them. You've got, all the things that come with that. And how do you create this? Yeah, you are doing it. You're creating this even better thing. But then I know it never stops, but where do you take it to, like with this biophilic design? And then, the sound, as you said, and I go, noise pollution with sound, the light, how much light we can get into these spaces, then the cleaning of these spaces, so that it's healthier.
I get a lot of questions. That's not a fair word. I get a lot of feedback in my social media about the viability of what people interpret as there's no way a stable can be that clean. So let me say this. Yes, there is. And if you take care of your stable, it will be clean. And I'm not saying that you're going to scrub it down every single day. That's completely impossible. But you should be really cleaning that stable. Listen, I don't want to tell anybody what to do or how to do it. That's not what I'm here to do. And that's not my job. But for horse health and wellness, the cleaner your stable, the healthier your horse too. And also, why would you want to hang around a filthy place? That's one of the things that it kills me. If I walk into a dirty stable, I know that those horses aren't being well taken care of, and that the people are not worthy of the horses that they are around. And it bothers me instantaneously. I hate that. And also, you should not one should not like that either. So when you see, but there are aspects of my design concept that are meant to also be much easier to clean, right? I don't choose lighting fixtures that are hard to dust, because horse stables are hugely dusty places, because you're constantly dumping big bales of sawdust, and it's going all over that's the real dusty thing. It's not your horse, it's their bedding. So that's what's making all that dust. So one of the main things. And so don't put up big, huge chandeliers in your horse stable and think they're going to stay clean. I see them all the time, by the way. It's like a kind of a newer thing people are into.
It's a trend in the horse stable.
Yeah. Putting chandeliers up, it's pretty, right? It makes it feel more domestic.
Hardly,
yeah. In your stable to have that kind of lighting. I'm not saying don't have lighting and don't have domestic lighting, but don't have little individual.
I'm with you. Don't create dust collectors.
Right. Don't do it. Have something that's global, and you can just get on a ladder and wipe it off once a week, just like you at home.
So that's
no problem.
That's another point then. So you know how obviously we have circadian rhythms. Horses have circadian rhythms. They're running in the same kind of thing, and we know that depending on the the LED light that we're using, it affects our circadian rhythms. And so the same must be happening in horse stables. And so that part of it is like, or what do you do with, again, this horse health of lighting and stuff? I mean, we're doing it with kids. We're being mindful with kids, and we're being mindful with when we bring light in overhead versus
blue light, and from our devices and our time and all that. Well, I like, so as a history of art student, you're also obviously a history of architecture student, because they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So I've always found it interesting that for some reason the clerestory window disappeared over during history.
Yeah, histories. Yeah.
But clerestory windows were installed because they brought different light at different angles and times of the day into a building. And I love clerestory windows in the horse stable. I love clerestory windows in a residence also.
Me too. Yeah, in the house. Yeah.
And it can be a French window with the clerestory on top. Like there's so many to play with that. And it brings such good light because it's high up. And also in a horse stable, I find that a clerestory is a great sense of is a great way to also bring in more air. So they're easy to open close. And so putting a clerestory above, your horse's outside stall window or door, if you have inside to the aisle, you can a lot of stables, fortunately these days, have out to the outside from stall as well, be it a door or window, put a clerestory on top. You've got more airflow coming from above.
Yeah, cross flow. Yeah, you're cross flowing the whole place. Yeah.
You're getting better light. And we're really in my design practice, we're really into skylights. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And like people, no, you can't, they're so hard to clean. Guys, every building, whether it has skylights or not, has to have the roof. You got to at least clean out your gutters twice a year. So like, okay, so fine. They're not going to be clean 100% of the time, whether it rains or it snows or whatever, but they're going to be clean enough that you still get natural light through them. And in your horse stable, yes. And I'm sure you're like me. In 75% of the homes I go into, even if it's a $50 million house, they're not cleaning their skylights every day. Those windows aren't.
Nobody is. Nobody is.
Great. So like in the skylights in your home or your horse stable or whatever, and you'll get that natural light.
Well, the other thing with that is like, we go through architectural styles where we have flat roofs, pitched roofs, all these different things. If you know where your predominant rain comes from, which you should, where where your predominant breezes come from, which you should, where your predominant light sources are going to be, which you should. Those are the fundamentals that we need to understand to design anything well. So when we look at that, we go, okay, well, we want to bring southern light maybe, or we want to bring northern light, or, in most cases where we live here, we're always blocking western light. If we are going to bring western light because it's too hot where we are, if we are going to bring it, how do we bring it? Do we bring it directly, indirectly? Can we put our skylights on an angle like this, but then be funneling the light through a gap like this? It's not just a hole in the roof with a piece of glass over it. And, I do this TV show here called Dream Homes Revealed, and I was in a house just recently, and it had like an oculus at the top of the stairwell. And it was kind of like a tear-shaped oculus of looking up into the sky. And one of the things that was really fantastic on the particular day that we were shooting this home.
Oculi. It gets to me one of the greatest things of the world. Sorry, go ahead.
It is, isn't it?
They're all over my work. They're all over.
I'm with you. This light falling in on our heads and the softness of it, and then we can shape the ceilings to make it softer at the way it falls in. Yeah. Anyway, in this particular case, it had rained really heavily that morning. And when it had rained, it then opened up to just clear blue skies. But this skylight had water sitting on it. And so down the stairwell, which was a curved staircase, it had rainbows running all the way down from the
Well,
yeah. And I said to the guys whose home it was, I said, I bet you never thought of that when it was being designed. And they were like, they didn't, and this is the thing. So if we have a skylight and if we can afford to do it, why wouldn't we put water across it sometimes? Why wouldn't we do that as an added feature? Like I was talking to you about, Atelier Jorgensen, and he's got a wet roof on that place, and that's because it's in a fire zone, you know. And so then you go, well, why wouldn't we have light coming through water? Why wouldn't we make those things? Why wouldn't we? It's a limit of imagination, and then the building style. And as you're saying, like, hold on a second, everything you've got that you're doing is being innovated as you go. It's but it's
in the past, right? I mean, like, I'm sure you've been paying attention to this, but the reopening of Notre Dame in Paris was, to me, I was very emotional when that happened. I was so sad. When it was on fire, I thought this is over. There's nothing they're going to be able to do to put this thing back together again, because we don't know how to build them.
Like that.
No, we can't do that. And so it's beyond our scope. And I thought, so then all of these, British landowners were like, all right, well, the original oak came from here. So we have got together, we've decided that we're going to give you guys old oak, so that it's the original Old English oak again from the same forest. So that it would all this authenticity and all the care and the I was clearly not the only person in the world that was just like, that's never going to get fixed. And maybe a little fixed, but not real. And I was watching a video this morning. They were cleaning. Actually, it was 60 Minutes, I think, on Sunday or something. I don't know. I don't watch the show anymore. But it's they were interviewing some of the restorers on the project, and the way they cleaned. They were like, well, here's the good news. So much of the interior of the church, as far as the frescoes and the paintwork and all that, hadn't been cleaned in over 175 years anyway. So now it's now we got to really do it. And so we cleaned the soot and the fire damage off, but the frescoes remained, and they're vibrant. And so it's our first chance as a modern society to see what they looked like when they were built. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get to Paris and see that. I'm
you've got me going as well. Yeah. I'm writing notes frantically.
Yeah, I have to go to London in I don't know, I'm going in a month or two. And I was like, now I'm going to go to Paris too, because I have to go see that immediately. Yeah. I can't believe that, to be able, we've seen so much restoration, quote unquote, but this is what it looked like when it was built. It's just so cool. So I'm sorry to have gone totally out.
Oh, no, I love that. Excuse me. I'm just going to mute while I cough. No. Okay, I'm back. Coughed out. When I first ever went to Paris, I went for a week. And in that week, I visited Notre Dame. I stayed not far from it. And I visited it every day, usually once, but sometimes twice. And it was on my way back to the apartment from wherever I would go. It was like I could make it the journey. And I'm not even particularly religious or anything like that, but I got the gravitas of this building and what it was and what it meant to people. And so I would go in every day. And when I would go in, I would, I'd always go and light a candle, give a donation, whatever. I'd never experienced anything quite like that before. And so it just became my daily touchstone of Paris. And when it was on fire, I was extremely grateful for the amount of time I'd spent in it. And then I was like, there's all those people that will never get to do that, never get to do what I did. And for a lot of people that live close to it, they do that every day anyway.
Yeah, it's
a touchstone. Yeah. And it's so good to hear, as you say, we're going to see it as it was all that time ago. And what else really surprised me was the fact that so many people globally said, here's money, here's resources. Like you say, with these oak forests, it's like, no, this thing matters. And this is like, I love it. Often art will get not forgotten, it'll get overseen for commerce, but we are so emotionally connected to what art and architecture does for us.
Yeah.
That's why it matters so much.
Yeah. Yeah. My degree is in Cinquecento, Renaissance Italian. So 14th century Renaissance Italian art. And I studied abroad because I knew what I wanted. I was pretty sure that that's what I was into studying. But even now, I was just in Florence recently, and there's always something new to see. You can't see everything ever. And I don't live there. I did. I actually didn't study in Florence. I didn't want to be there, but I was there, I don't know, a year ago, maybe. My husband had never been. And every time I go, I still hire an art guide because they know more than I do. And they always have little secrets, and they're the locals, and they're the ones whose families built the church in 1462. And so like, they're going to have such cool perspectives. So I feel like these days people are kind of interested. I think it's thanks to positive social media in what people that are kind of experts in their fields are trying to disseminate. And I feel like maybe that's been some of my success in the equestrian industry, is that I'm authentic. I really know what I'm talking about. And, I'm always going to get some negativity in my social media, and I don't, it's fine. Let
the haters hate.
Whatever. And also, maybe they'll learn something. And so, at the end of the day, like, I'm not putting poisonous flowers around horses in a real horse stable. And I don't want to go too far off topic, but I'm not a digital content creator by trade. I'm a true designer architect firm by trade, and we really know what we're doing. And so when I sit down and but first of all, I have a degree in art and architecture. So I'm kind of trying to, imbue via my social media platform is, hey, you guys, how cool is this place historically? And what if it was a horse stable? And how beautiful is it? And also, let's be clear, I don't care where it was, but if it existed post Second Dynasty Egyptian, they had horses. So horses were introduced by the Greeks to the Egyptians. I can't remember who the pharaoh was, pretty late on. They got in big trouble because those Greeks had horses and they didn't. And so everything historically for thousands of years, there have been horse stables always.
Yeah.
So I'm not far off. And I think it's such a cool way to show people different architectural styles, take them on a journey around the world. It inspires me.
Yeah.
And inspires people to want to work with me, I think, which is really good. And I love, and by the way, when I sit there and I do a drawing set, that's an AI drawing set for my social media, it's really for me. It's such a fun way to I think all people in our industry really need to pump ourselves up, create creatively and intellectually, whatever it is. And you and I were talking briefly before we started this podcast, that you're super excited to be working with this one landscape architect. So I love that too. But I also I love sitting there and knowing, okay, well, in this part of Africa, what flora and fauna thrive, what is realistic, and what do I want in my, drawings? What would I present to a client? I mean, I wouldn't go to a client and say, hey, I have a great idea. Let's plant palm trees in the middle of northern Germany. So I want to know what I'm talking about. And so I love doing the homework, and I'm interested, I feel like I don't know any designer that also isn't interested in either gardening or landscape design or, our
It
fingers
goes beyond. Yeah.
it's all over the place. And so like I really have enjoyed playing around in that space of when AI, kind of became this publicly available
When they let us have it. Yeah.
me and you, right? I was like, wow, this is awesome because my office does my renderings, not me. I can't. I don't first of all, I don't know how to use those programs. And
Yep.
I tried a little bit and I was like, nope, 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 nope. This is a terrible usage of my time. There are people that are way better at this than me that have degrees in this that are available to work with me, that would that are, also creatively minded. Like, I'm not taking their jobs. They're not taking mine. Let's collaborate. Like, you guys do it. But with the AI, like, I can bang out some idea that comes up in my head relatively quickly for myself. And then I can also share it with a client and be like, hey, wait, so when you said, modern farm, Switzerland, did I hit the mark? And we're like, holy hell, how'd you get that done? Like, yeah.
And that's kind of the fun of it. It's kind of like having an extension of your own brain that can think with you and not for you, but with you. And
it's like that.
Yeah.
It is cool, right? Because I'm saying like I want, wisteria vines on the front of this, that, or the other. And so it is putting wisteria vines. Now, did I say put the wisteria vine 2 inches to the left? No. But do I need to? Yeah, it's fine. So I don't tell wisteria vine where to grow. So there was just this whole cool, interactive, and when I work on one of those sets, it's, I don't have 10 images. I end up with 180.
Yes.
180 is called from 6,000, because I keep going and going and going and going. It takes 2 weeks to get it where I'm comfortable to cull it to the 10.
But that's the joy of discovery as well. This is that thing of following your I'm going to say in your case, your technical mind, and then also your research mind, this theory mind that you're going, okay, well, if it could be that, then could it be this? Or what would this influence? And it's just coming back to you with options of answers of what it could influence. And then you're going, oh yeah, well, that's cool. Oh, what about that? What about this? And how does that form what? And it will throw things at you that you go, oh, hold on, there's a rabbit hole. I'm coming back to that.
Totally.
Versus, I'm going to stay in this lane. Yeah, I'm going to stay in my lane here, or I'm going to go down the rabbit hole.
For us as the designers, but then secondarily for our clients, think of how much time is being saved in the communication process where a client can say, I saw a wet roof.
Yes.
And there may not be available imagery of that. And so you're like, oh, okay. Did you mean like that? And bang, bang, bang. You're, instead of guessing what a client's asking you for, you're using your resources to provide them with what they need. You're taking a lot of the frustration out of the process. You're speeding up the very lengthy process that
you're using the minds that have programmed the large language model. You're using that to give you more insight. And that is like going, well, there's a library down there, but I'm not going to go and look. I'm just going to talk to a couple of people and see what I can learn. But there's, it's like
I saw a chandelier in a design show recently that I really liked, and so, but there's a technical term for what it is. So I put in the designer's name that's represented by the showroom, Rameau circular chandelier brass, and it was not quite there, but it was pretty darn close from the AI program that I work in. I was like, that's good enough for me. Because the representation of it is still good enough to say to my client, all right, pretty darn close to this is what I've seen. And this is what, this is my interpretation of it in this drawing. Oh, okay, cool. I love that. Or, ooh, I don't like that at all. Please. I don't want that.
Exactly. Just like that.
Yeah.
I'm this great believer in informal education. And with that, it's like I'm being educated by you right now. And so every week, sometimes twice in a week, sometimes 3 times, depending on what the week's like. But every week I talk to somebody who inspires me. And
Likewise. Thank you.
It just opens so many thought patterns for me. And then my clients get a better job out of me because I'm constantly trying to learn from some angle, and I'm learning about human behavior, but I'm also learning about, architectural behavior and those pieces, and it informs me. And then I go, okay, well, I'm going on a conference. I'm going to go to a conference, and I don't really want to just go and sit around and talk to a whole bunch of architects. I want to go and hear the people that are there to present, enjoy the company of the others, but hear the people there to present, and then understand what's driving the way they're thinking of architecture,
The mind, it's like
exactly. And then
the mind of an architect or an artist, or I think it juices everybody's creativity to have an experience like that. And I think that's one of the coolest things about social media, because you are kind of getting inside the mind of people.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like, especially and that the podcast, these kinds of things really shift how we connect with people. Look, we've got to be mindful of time. I want, though, can you share some images?
Yeah, right now?
Let's do that. Yeah, let's share some images and talk to some of those multiple participants. Can share some images, because this will be on YouTube as well. I'd love people to be able to see what you do.
You want me to pull up
your choice,
like a deck or my Instagram page, or what do you think is the easiest?
Do a deck and just show us some stuff. And then, people who are listening, jump on YouTube, go and see this. Even if you don't want to hear us talk all this time again, jump to the end and have a look here at what we're going to look at. And I'd love to know the emotional responses to each of these pictures. That if you are watching on Instagram, not on Instagram, sorry, on YouTube, if you're watching there, please write in, tell us your emotional responses to them. And I'm going to ask Andrea for her emotional responses to why these things, why she's chosen them. We'll talk to the photos. So, yeah, we'll explain them as well. But I'd be really...
All right. I'm just making sure that what I'm going to share,
you're allowed to. There's no NDA on it.
Nah.
It's so funny that, yesterday I was podcasting with somebody who's designed for a lot of very famous people, like big names. And he's like, every time you go on site, you're actually greeted by a secretary who has you sign an NDA just before you meet with them. Like, you never get to have a meeting without signing a new NDA. And I've got a friend in London who he's works with a lot of very famous people as well. And he can't ever show photos. He can't ever discuss their jobs. He can't, it's they're locked in the vault.
Yeah, it gets a little complicated in that regard, but also, you're very
privacy matters. Yeah.
And I think it all gets shared in due time. Ultimately,
I'm with you. It gets shared when it needs to be shared eventually.
A few projects that, like, I had one client who's very well known in finance push back. His attorney pushed back, because my contract states that I have right of to photograph at the end of all my installs, all of that. And his attorney pushed back, and I called my client and I was like, well, that's really bad for a designer to have their work hidden. And he was like, I said, no one will know it's your house. And he was like, oh, well, I don't care. Who said I cared? And I was like, you're a lawyer. And he was like, oh, let me just tell him to let it go. And it's such a long story about that project. And I loved that project, and I loved my client, and he passed away in the middle of the project. Mm-hmm. So things got complicated, and we were allowed to photograph, but I wasn't going to furnish because the estate didn't want to keep the house. We completed design, construction, all of that. And so my office is in process. We are digitally posting, like post-production, installing into the
furniture.
Space. Yeah, I created, we took the actual physical professional photographs of an empty space, And so my guys are working on that right now, but I'm excited to share that. It's the last truly residential project I completed.
Oh, wow.
So
Awesome.
Yeah.
So on the screen, we have Mexico initial drawings, and I'm going to let you explain it.
Okay. So this is a project that'll be outside of Mexico City for an owner, breeder sales in the show jumping world. And he came to me because he saw this drawing via a friend of mine in Mexico in the community. And so we started with this, and we kind of started playing for him. As I mentioned, and I was like, all right, I think I gotcha. Like, what do you think? And so this was the first thing I presented to him after seeing that. Then I gave him this, and he was like, oh my God, let's go. So
off we went. I can see why.
Yeah, we're going. So, and I think that, it's,
your layouts and your
whoops daisies. Here we go. Sorry, I'll use this instead.
Yeah.
So just, kind of knowing that we knew a bit about the site plan, so it's rather a large house that we're also doing the residence here.
Yeah.
But the site required a certain, kind of longer, narrower horse stable.
Yeah.
Kind of are in this process. And, it gives us a really good idea with our clients of kind of what they have to work with without us wasting their time. So that's a big part of this. But, like, as you can see, this is a true,
Yeah, absolutely true representation of it.
Exactly.
So in this case, you're doing the house as well.
I am, yeah.
So how often as a firm do you end up doing both?
I'm happy to do the house anytime I'm working on the stable. I don't really want to work on I don't want to take myself out of the marketplace, but like for the right people, I'll work on your house if you don't have a stable. But for right now, because like I'm very happy working with my equestrian clientele. They're my people, I think, so to speak.
Right.
I would love to just kind of happily work on your residence if it's on your horse property or you are my equestrian client.
Yeah.
Oh, great. If not, like, special circumstances, always.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. It depends on the people, I imagine.
Or your boat, as we were talking about before.
Yeah, well, I was going to just ask about that. Like, like this transition, like obviously horse trailers. And again, this is all part of that equine experience. And then beyond that, there's these people, that they do have a boat. They do have, a jet. They do have these different things, and they are horse people. And how often do you get to represent their love of horses in these other spaces? So take boats, like nobody rides their seed horse, but they're still, like totally a part of what they are, that love of horses and their understanding. And they, love boating and love water and love all that stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm just about to kind of dip my toe into the super yacht world. So I've been interested in that for a while. And I feel like there's a lot of similarity in having to have a lot of technical knowledge in what you're doing when you're working. By the way, residentially, commercially, hospitality, we all have to have a ton of technical knowledge. That's what makes us good at our jobs. But I would say that, there's something on a boat that's, exceptionally technical. Like you have to know your weight limit on X, Y, and Z on on kind of everything.
Oh, you do, even like fuel loading on a boat, how it will ride in the water at different things. I've got a friend who's he supplies a system called SOS, which is Super Yacht Operating Systems. And he supplies that all around the world. And I had another friend who had said, why don't we collaborate on doing some super yacht design stuff? And, so you're working with a naval architect, and then these loads and you want to put marble all through it, you want to do whatever, then everything has to be calculated against fuel burn as well as fuel capacity, and then weight of the boat at what level the weight is sitting in the boat. So there's a lot of technical stuff that gets into it. And when you're a boat's captain, the boat will sail completely differently depending on how that's loaded. And the naval architect brings all those pieces together, not just the shape of the hull and the size of the engine.
But it's so like, I'm never going to be a naval architect, and I will never be. I have so much respect for people like that, and people in the engineering space, and I'm fascinated. And I'm about to make an announcement. I can't do it yet. We're not quite there yet. I have a secondary business to equine residences about to launch. That's it's actually part of the horse world. I've been spending, a year plus researching what it's going to look like. And I brought in a partner who comes from the aerospace industry because we realized like we needed someone that technical to enter this space in the horse world. So it just felt super serendipitous when he and I met. He was dabbling in the horse business a little bit, having been in the aerospace industry for 40 years. He's, but I met him, and there are people that just blow your mind where you're like, you're the smartest person I've ever talked to. I could talk to you for a million hours and it wouldn't be enough. Like, I felt like that about my husband when we first met. Like, that I feel like you're so intelligent and brings so much to the table, and things I'm so excited to think about. And like with this guy, I was like, oh my gosh, you're so smart.
You just want those people around you.
Yeah,
I'd go back to Napoleon Hill's mastermind effect. Your mind, my mind creates a greater mind bigger than both of us. And this is like the conversation with AI. Its mind and your mind, it accelerates the possibility that you can come out of something with more quickly. Show us some other pictures while we're talking.
So, place in New York that another architect was hired, and we came in to do the all the interior stable equipment.
Wow.
We also did a little bit of help on the exterior architecture and interior architecture. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and it's so no one's seen this before, so I'm happy to share. I should probably have looked at this better before I shared it, but that's okay too.
Oh, you can always let me know. I can always cut it out.
But I feel like it's cool. It's beautiful, and
I look in this one, and you've got those skylight windows all the way down on the one on the left hand side, and the way it's spilling soft light into the space, and then the stables have actually got windows on their sides as well, so it's bringing light into the space. It's
Thank you. Yeah, and we put in. Obviously, so the other thing we're also really conscientious of in our designs for the stables is whatever the inclement weather is. So if it's so where this is located in New York, it's gonna get pretty heavy winds.
Yeah.
Right. We're conscientious of like the tempered glass that or rated glass that on our doors and windows. We generally kind of try to work with those companies. And then the other thing, oops, sorry.
Yeah.
I custom designed some rubber flooring because I felt like a lot of the rubber flooring in the marketplace was, it was chemical laden, and I don't want it in my horse stables. I don't want my clients having it in their horse stables. I wouldn't have my horses around it. So this is 100% recycled Colombian rubber. And I partnered with a company out of Colombia, and so we're working on new stamps, new colors. So we've done some custom color here in the U.S. And this is a herringbone, and they're interconnected meter square mats. So they're really affordable and usable and transportable. They're amazing, and they stay down and they don't collect.
How awesome!
So they don't hold anything in between them like the kind of currently traditional pavers do, that when you wash them, you're not actually washing them because they're not stuck together.
Right. Gotcha.
together. That's kind of it. So I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
They're not. So this is all custom.
Beautiful stonework. Yeah.
Thanks. And we're really happy with that. And then,
oh, wow. What? Yeah. Okay. So if you haven't looked yet, jump online and look at this. This is, yeah. This is Andrea meets Santiago Calatrava.
We like in my office, we were talking a lot about like what if we were building our own facility in the Middle East, what would we need? This is conceptually what we decided we would. So we decided we needed a lot of, so I'll just briefly explain. So we wanted the natural light in because we knew that there would be climate control in those stables, but that the stable and the arena and everything needed to be in one piece so that, you would be protected from that desert heat.
Yeah.
Your horse would be protected. And so that it would feel also kind of like a protected sphere for horses and you. And that also we wanted something that would feel like if the sand was really coming from the desert. This is obviously an oasis planted, right? And but like that we would need something that would keep the a sandstorm from blowing through our glass.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's really awesome. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
So we split on either side of the aisle. Another, we wanted to feel like that light was always coming in, and gave us
beautifully filtered.
Thank you. Yeah, and as well, these are all my designs. So the furnishings and the textiles and all of that. So it's a company I work with out of Germany called Manufactura Valor.
Right. You better spell that sometime. Send me it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're it's a UNESCO protected herd of sheep.
Oh wow, really?
That they get it's the finest wool felt in the world, and it's really and so all of this is hand produced 120-year-old looms by the same family for 120 years, so that all these clothes and everything is and then I designed these chairs for them, and they're so frustrating. And any case, so this is all in conjunction with my partner over there.
Your whole business, just stunning. And like this kind of shaped work here, just something that imagining what it can be.
Yeah, so in the Middle East, they visit. There are different kinds. So there are different kinds of like show horses in the Middle East. So there are horses there that you just look at for their beauty. You don't ride them, or they're not endurance, they're not jumping, etc. So they're visibly beautiful, and that's their type of show. So we designed an aisleway where the horses aren't walking out. So they're looking out, but they're not coming. So the humans are coming through the aisleway.
It's a gallery. Yeah.
Yes.
A horse gallery.
And then the horses come out on the backside, so that also, you can play around with what kind of, tile or or you're interested in, or however that works. But we want it to be also, normal and safe for a horse. So
of course. Yeah. But that's a human environment that the horse is going to be the showpiece of. The show pony. The show pony. Yeah. And there's a big indoor arena. I imagine, like, when you look at that indoor arena piece, there you get where you're playing with different shapes of the roof and stuff. You actually get to give it some acoustic control through that as well.
Yeah, this felt very church-like. So we play with the trusses and stresses and all of that of this to give it. And also we figured in this shape that we were getting less of a negative acoustic bounce back off the sand.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is horse walker protected completely from the elements, but and cool, and obviously able to be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Igloo, if you will.
Yeah, a little igloo. Wow. And then you jump from that to a modern farmhouse. Go you.
Switzerland, another one. Here we are with the clerestory windows, skylights, and
very open, like really big open concept.
And this one I played with too. Actually, Matea, who works with me in my office, came up with this, and I loved it. That the loggia over the outside stable doors is made so
right.
As we could pitch the roof all the way down in a traditional farmhouse kind of Scandinavian shape. And that glass loggia wouldn't block the light into the clerestory windows. Really brilliant concept. Thank you, Matea.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, super smart and about as much natural light as you could,
which you want. And then like these reception areas and the beauty of all those pieces. And then just even having the planting inside, which, we know in humans that biophilic design increases cognitive response. So we know that. That's fact. It's been studied. So I imagine using biophilic design around horses who are made from the wild, that's where they came from, will increase cognitive response from the horse as well and lower its sympathetic nervous system, to a better level. Yeah, all these things that probably operate for humans, operate for horses. I mean, I think cats own every house they're in, so I'm not quite sure how they get on. But that may be more adaptable. But horses and I can see the parallel. Like humans are fight or flight animals as well. Yeah. Either run or face it. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
those are beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know about you, but like I've never had one. But having a sunken living room, which may be very like 1960s, 1970s. I don't care.
Bring it on. I've never had one either, but I've been in houses that have them.
My gosh, my next house, this is it. I want that sunken living room. It's so cool. And again, this is more of my designs with Manufactura Valor. And
I'm designing a house at the moment where we have a sunken living room, but it's open on one side. So 3 sides of it's sunk in from 3 sides, and then the end of it opens completely out. So you don't climb back out at that end. You can go outside, and from there you go outside. And Philip, the landscape architect, he's bringing my fire pit in, but we've got to watch where the winds go so we don't end up with smoke under the roof and stuff like that.
Fire pit for you. I will share with you. I just designed it. Get ready. It's coming for.
It's coming for me.
I've solved your problem. That's why designers have to talk.
Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and like for me, I don't know about you, but like one little thing can spark an entire design concept. Like I saw a a downdraft chimney like this, and I was like, well, hold on a minute. What that copper and put it inside, like sunken living room, and that was it. The whole design came together.
And you think of that, and that downdraft cotton, like fire flue, it's like a piece of fabric that's falling. It's like a woman's dress, like a long gown, falling from the ceiling. And I get it. It softens everything. It just makes it so beautiful. And
I posted the other day something, I can't remember what I called it, but it was who said stone is, hold on, let me look it up really fast. Who said stone is hard or something?
Yeah, actually I seem to remember that one.
Yeah, where I was like, who made that up? Oh, yeah, nice curves, stable design. Who said stone has to be hard? So like, to me, there's just so like, we can all, like, if the shape feels organic and soft, it doesn't mean it texturally is. It means it visually is. And, I think it can really inspire all of, us and our clients and our, and our not clients. So
I think the thing is that you, with what you're doing, you've elevated the stable or the we're going to call it the equine residence to the point of it inspires the home that's attached to it or the home that's with it. It inspires what you've done is you've just lifted it so far that it adds so much to the thinking that people go, oh, and it brings them forward in all their thinking. And that is why you have your well-deserved, like followers and everything else that comes with that. It's the privilege of inspiring other people that gives you the opportunity.
Well, and, not everybody is going to have, a really expensive horse stable or sophisticated or expensive horses or all of that. But I think people can still feel inspired to, I don't know, have some more airflow or
to live better.
To live better. Or, like I'm never going to have time in my life to, I don't have time in my life to, get my hair done and my makeup and nails and this isn't like a constant thing for me, right? I have other things that I'm interested in doing, but I still am inspired by people that do that are
Absolutely.
like great at it, right? People that are like amazing at, doing hair or amazing at, fixing watches. Like there are all these things that you can be interested in, and there's nothing wrong with being inspired or interested in something that someone else is doing that isn't necessarily what you're doing at that time. Maybe a little piece of it will make your own life better.
I couldn't agree more. Like, those things, those points of inspiration, and suddenly it opens up something you wouldn't have considered before, or a way of considering something. Like I look in the photo that you've got there at the moment, the one on the left, and I look at that and I go, okay, so it's like a tack room is off on the back of there behind this glass wall. And I'm like, how beautiful is that? Yeah, exactly. And then, it's highly functional. And look, the tack room could be a wine cellar. It could be a separate, I don't know, whatever, like a spa kind of piece. It could be any number of things, but it's a tack room. And like I go, how beautiful. And then it's elevating the thinking. It's shifting the thinking. It's inspiring what could be of any space. Like I'm really, this like lighting like this is something I'm really specifically interested in. And this happens to be from Haberdashery in London. And I did a major piece with them for a project here in Los Angeles for a residential recently. And what they do inspires me. I'll share Haberdashery with you, Adrian. I will tell you that their level of it like sculptural lighting design is so like, level a million, like stuff I would never have. That's so beautiful and inspires me. And then, like, I just hope that it then inspires other people. And then, like I'm always looking, I love the design community, I think, because we tend to be not competitive. We tend to be super intra collaborative where we're like, oh my God, I just found this really incredible such and such, lighting piece, whatever. And like, you've got to see this. That's it. We live on the excitement of discovery, and it's like the discovery of great art or the discovery of great ideas, and it just elevates that each time.
But if you're being hired for your design,
what you do
in your aesthetic, and but it doesn't mean like another designer isn't inspiring you. And I think it's really fun, and fashion works the same way, like everything works the same way. So having that open dialogue with other designers, I've always found I have a lot of friends that are architects and designers. It's like we're all really attracted to each other because you get to bounce that creative juice through each other. And like
absolutely
like this project, it was meant for them, not for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's part of it. Like in your case, you're understanding the human element of your client, and then you're understanding, or you're combining that with the horse element of your client, And then you're combining that with the beauty of the architecture and the interiors. And then you're putting that all into an environment, like you were saying before about that one in New York. Well, we knew that this was a really windy area, so we knew we had to build accordingly. It's that thing. I have a program that I run from my clients out of my business called Land Whispering. And of course, I stole that from Horse Whispering. And it's about understanding the land and understanding what the land does and how we better read it and how we better design for the land. And I'm listening to you and you're telling me how you're doing exactly that thing with what you're doing with with these equine residences. But beyond that, with the whole piece, like when you had the picture up before of Mexico, and you can see the boundaries of the property and how you're playing within those boundaries of the property, knowing what the conditions are and then getting the best from it, and then creating something of beauty that will be a legacy piece in that family. And beyond that family, it'll become a legacy piece. And you go, it's an honor, but it's also amazing that these people, that your clients are actually going, we love it enough to do this. We're prepared to put the resources behind making these things happen. And then they share that with their community and their family and their friends. And from that, it increases this understanding of what makes not just life better, but what it's like to be in an elevated experience, what it's like to have something that's well thought of. I often say when I'm doing talks and stuff, everything that wasn't designed by a human was designed by nature. Everything in nature actually works. Most of the stuff that's designed by humans has some shortfalls.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to get better all the time. And that's what I love about being around passionate designers, is you're constantly trying to get better at what you're doing. And every project and every opportunity, just even being somewhere in nature or being, in somebody else's work, you're analyzing and you're looking and you're going, oh, wow, okay, I can see what that does in this environment. I think that's the magic. I think that's really the magic.
Well, and I think it's, it makes clients feel seen and heard, and 100%. to have that, organic cyclical feel within the process of the design and build. It's I don't know you, but like I've only had it happen twice in my career where I met a builder where I was just like, wow, like you get everything. I'm so happy about this. Like I've been waiting for you. And like both of them are like two of my dear friends. And, it just like that moment that, it's like like somebody has to interpret what I think, say, draw, all of those things, in real life. And like when you find the builder that can do it, you're like, oh, you're a magician. I don't know where you came from. You're the best person ever. Thank you so much for being you. And
Absolutely.
What would I do if, and those guys are usually the ones that are getting the brunt of the client, not me. So
they're the ones that actually end up there with years of work or whatever it is, and then technically they have to manage the job on site. They have to manage the client expectation, the other contractors' expectations. They've got to manage all that. When you get one that's golden, they're golden. There's no doubt about it.
It's such a it's like the most important person to be grateful to. Where you're just like, thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you all the time. Thank you. I'm so grateful. Like
we're doing a project currently where we're talking to the 6th builder that we've spoken to. The project's at distance, so it's 3 hours flight from me, and looking at builders, whether they've got capability and capacity, has been a journey, and it's a slightly remote project. So finding somebody in that area that does it, and I want them to be hands-on enough that I can have a direct conversation with them, not just them relaying something else, and finding them, but they've got to be big enough to be able to take on a project of this scope. And, there's lots of complications to it. And I go with, not always, next week I'm going to a project at distance. And it's a first meeting there. And in my first meeting, I'm there for 2 days. One will be with the client and the other will be with the client and several builders. And so we will be meeting those people at that time in that place. And then we'll be talking to them. We haven't even got any drawings yet. We don't even know exactly what we're going to do yet. But seeing if they're going to be somebody who will be on that ride with us from here to the end of the build. And I'm super reliant on the builder being right because it's at distance and a lot of your work's at distance. So when you're looking for the right builder, it's like you need a trusted source that brings that to you. It's like, I'm doing some work in England at the moment. And so I have an architect of record that I'm working with. That architect of record that I'm working with has to be my trusted person. Now, the client actually has the builder already, which they've done a lot of work with the builder over the years. So we know that we can form this tight team that we can get success from it. Because at the end of the day, we can draw the pretty pictures we want. We can come up with the craziest ideas and the simplest ideas and the most economic ideas, but we're not building it. We're not actually putting the hammers and nails and, the welders and the steel work and the cranes and the septic systems and the fire. Yeah, exactly. We might be telling them we need it and they need it, but we're not the ones doing it, So, that part of it.
We started work. I'm taking any kind of personal out of this. Work was begun today at my sister's.
Oh, wow.
Has been out of her home for a year, and the contractor she hired was so negligent in his abilities, and it was so bad that work was stopped 4 months ago. And it took me a couple months to get, I had a couple of my builders in there, and she lives in a high rise, my highest level builder, my medium level, contracting partner, et cetera. And I was like, guys, you have to start over. And she's been out for a year. How fast can we get this done?
Wow.
And the work was so scary. Adrian, I'm not just talking about how bad it is. They forgot to put in door frames, but then closed the framing and all, the waterproofing that they were hired to do is not sound. They put an electrical outlet on the inside of shower for the wall on the other side. And I saw that and I was like I had been involved in 0%. And I told my sister I didn't want involvement. She was like, well, I don't need you anyway. I know what I'm doing. I was like, great. Can't wait to see what you've done.
Like your hair dryer in the shower.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it was like one of those, and as soon as the whole situation unfolded, and she's the one that walked in, get ready for this one. She walked in, she has a full-time job. She's a, full-time parent. And she walked in and they were using remnants of engineered hardwood boards from her install in the other side of the apartment to waterproof her master shower. And she walked in, she was like, what are you doing? I have pictures. I'll have to show this. You'll never believe this shit that I saw. And I was like, dude. And that was the end. And she shut the work down. And it's been I feel so sorry for her. She has literally been out of her home for over a year. And here we are, that they have to start over. So my guy is we'll get this done by the end of April. You're good. But it's just such,
it destroys the client journey. And while she'll be grateful for you to rescue it, at the end of the day, her journey's so tainted, and she spent probably a ton of money already, and then she's in a fight, and it's just, that sucks. It sucks.
And then to top it off, it's bringing it back around to kind of what you and I were talking about initially here is, it's why you and I have a job too. Even that long process and that long design build, whether or not we're the physical design builder on the build side or the designer working with the builder, it's still a very it's still a marriage. And so,
Yes,
so like, and I try to be really clear with my clients, like, you're telling the builder really what to do for some aspects of this, but for the most part, they're working with me. And we want all of your input. But what happened with my sister is a good cautionary tale. If you say to a builder, I know what I'm doing, and you don't, and you can, and it's happened. I've come in on the, to fix side clients too. Like, well, you don't know. And, like obviously the builder was terrible, but the end of the story, like my sister was playing designer on TV and she's not a designer. So stop doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. That part of it is, like understanding the limits of your own knowledge. And, we make an agreement with our builders and our clients that if the client comes to the builder and asks for something different, just do us the courtesy and phone us and just say, hey, I've been asked for this change. And we may just go, look, great, do it. That sounds good. Or we may go, oh, hold on a second. That might affect 3 other things. That might affect this. So
ordered lighting for that space and it's not going to fit anymore. And they've already spent money on that. And they don't realize that it won't fit. Yeah, no, it's
just, it happens all the time. And I sort of go to the builders. I go, I don't need to be on site all the time. You're a builder. You know what you're doing. You know how to do it. If the client is going to fiddle with it at these different points, then their cost is going to change. But I don't care if the client wants to alter something. All I really care about is that the alteration isn't going to ruin something else, and that they're aware of what their alteration will create. It could be cost, it could be flow, it could be any of these things. So I just make it an agreement with them that once we're on the page and we're working together with all parties, great. Just keep me informed. And I don't want to draw extra drawings. I don't want to do extra stuff. I don't want to be sending anybody invoices for it. I just want to make sure that what we get is well considered.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and and I want to give you what you hired me for.
Yeah. So you got me here for a reason.
Right. I'm here because you thought I was good at what I do. And, I want to give you the best of what I can do. So if you and the builder and I are doing it together, it works out so much better.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Andrea, what an amazing chat. And I can't wait to see what you do with some boats and then also see what you do with some horse trailers, because I can see that those are like such natural progressions of the design space.
Yeah, it's so funny that you asked me about that, because it's such a designer thing to want to do.
It is. And also some perfume. I think that there's such an opportunity with that for the space, like for these people. And it's not that they want to walk around smelling like a stable, but these trigger notes that happen for people, take them on journeys, and those journeys are beautiful journeys. And so I look at that and I go, what fun to be able to play in this area and expand from it.
I love that. Well, I love that I just was on a podcast where I took a ton of notes. So I love that. That makes
I've got a ton of notes as well. Trust me, pages of them.
Now we've made friends, so we'll have to talk more often.
We will, without a doubt. And also, with my tours, it would be really fun to hook up on the tours, and you can inspire some of our tour guests, where we bring them with food and with have you there to
come to Palm Beach,
blow their minds. Yeah,
come to Palm Beach.
Beach.
We could do Palm Beach, Miami, for the thing, in Wellington, Florida, which is in Palm Beach thing, because that's where we're based. So we're here with the horse worlds there. Yeah. It'd be so much fun. I would love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. We will obviously post every way that you can get in touch with Andrea when we post the podcast. Do go on YouTube, and even if you don't want to sit and see us chat for a while, zoom through to the end and see these amazing things. Look on Andrea's Instagram. She posts regularly and has amazing stuff. What you're seeing here, though, she doesn't always post on Instagram. So it's stuff that's the next level. And
and come over to Equine Residence's store. We just launched. So we're launching.
Really?
Yeah. Limited edition prints to buy framed or unframed there.
Awesome.
Our works. There's some really pretty things there. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. As I say, I found another new friend in the world, which is somebody who inspires me with their design.
Thank you. Likewise. Appreciate it.
Go and have a beautiful evening.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ciao. Bye.
Thank you for tuning into our conversation. I hope it left you both informed and inspired. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And please don't hesitate to share your design thoughts with me. It's always a joy to hear from you. If you're like me and crave a deeper dive into design thinking, coupled with a love for travel and adventure, consider one of my architectural adventures. Join me and some of my wonderful design friends and embark on a journey of a lifetime. Apply for an unforgettable design experience at adrianramsey.com. With our clients spanning the globe, I firmly believe behind every great project are great people. If you're a great person and seeking to turn your dream into a reality, I'd be honored to design your home with you. Why not join the ranks of our exceptional clients and let's make your heart sing? Reach out to me at studio@ardesignhouse.com. That's studio@ardesignhouse.com, and let's get a conversation going and make your heart sing.